Hello, everyone. It's Tuesday, September 28th, 2021. I am Sally Blue Sister, and this is My Turn to Talk. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day so far. Okay, so once again, let's get started. Today we are going to talk about dating over 65. Okay, and many people prefer to date and not live together. What are the rules of dating when you get older? Do you want to live together or have your own space? You know, First of all, I want to talk about middle age. Okay, according to Encyclopedia Britannica, middle age is between 35 and 60. And it seems like that has come down some. Before, I thought middle age was like, uh, okay, I apologize, between 40 and 60. But it seems like that has come down some. I thought middle age, when you were 45, 50, but now they're saying 40 and 60. And when you get older, your body starts to change. Physically, you may not be as strong as you were when you were younger. Just your body goes through changes. I mean, your body changes from the time you were 5 and the time you were 10. This is just what happens. It's aging. But the dating world, how does that change? Okay, you hear about all these dating sites like eHarmony, whatever, find your match, when you're older, you know, um, seniors dating. And I read an article about 3 weeks ago, and this is what made me want to do this show. And that is that you have uh, seniors who are dating, but women, it's the women who are choosing not to live together. It's the women who are choosing, I'll date when I'm older, but it's the women who are saying, I don't want to live with you. And I'm wondering that when it comes to women, is it because one reason why they don't want to live with their, I don't know if you want to call them your significant other or the person that you're dating, is because they've already, been there, done that. And what I mean by that is they've already raised their families. They've already, taken care of people. They've cooked for people, for however long, whatever. They've cleaned house, cleaned up after people, and they don't want to do it anymore. It's like, let me take care of myself. Let me, have my own space. Let me cook for myself. Let me, if I make a mess, I'll clean up after myself, whatever. We can have a relationship, but at the end of the day, you go home, or I'm going to get up and I'm going to go home. Um, so I'm wondering if that's one reason. Um, you know, uh, and men, I think men who are older men who want to live with someone else, and this may be a little bias, especially if they are men who have been married, um, you know, in uh, in a long-term relationship or even a short-term relationship, men are used to having someone take care of them. My job is to go out and hunt and bring back the deer. I'm supposed to go to work. You're supposed to be in the kitchen, cooking and cleaning and what have you. They're used to being taken care of. That sounds very biased. So that is a question that I have. But it was a very interesting article. And Crucible Man, welcome. I see you are here. And just to start it off until we wait for more people to show up, what do you think about dating over 65 and the fact that you have women supposedly who tend to want to live by themselves? They don't want to share a home with someone. What do you think? And while I'm waiting for Crucible Man to come on, I will also state that, okay, here's Crucible Man. There you go.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I would agree with you. My parents were married for 50 years before my mother passed away, and I would estimate, just having gotten to know her pretty well the last many, many years of her life, not entirely happy being married to my father. It wasn't like they fought or anything like that, but I do think the grind of taking care of the family, cleaning up after everybody, fixing meals, driving people to football practice and God knows where else, I think it just wore her down. And the lack of compatibility, I don't think they were particularly compatible in ways that you probably need for a real long-term close relationship. But that wasn't that unusual back in those times. Men and women were not together because they were great friends. They were raising a family and they were doing all those traditional things. But I have never been married and I've never lived with anybody. And so I can't really speak to the being taken care of part, but I do think there are an awful lot of men that fall into that category and they get caught off guard later in life when their wife either wants a divorce or wants a separation. I think women are much more prone later in life to carve out separate lives from their husbands, and their husbands are pretty much content to keep the status quo. That's just a viewpoint from 40,000 feet. I've never been married, but I know enough people who are married, and I think when the paths diverge later in life, it seems to be almost always the woman is looking to forge her own identity in more of her own life, and the man is content with the status quo.
It's interesting that you say that because I've had conversations with, various people as a married woman, and we all come to the same conclusion that if we were to, it seems like women are, if you're going to get a divorce or if there's issues, men just seem to be content with the way things are. They're just okay. I'll just deal with it, whatever. Whereas women, they want a change. I was reading somewhere that the people who usually bring up divorce are usually women, not men. And I found that interesting. I think that women have a shorter threshold of patience when it comes to dealing with certain things in the household or dealing with relationships, where men, they're just content. And sometimes they're just, it's like, do you not see what's going on? And men don't. And again, that sounds very biased, but that's what I think. I've said that if, something were to happen in my relationship, my husband were to pass away, or, we got divorced or something, I would not get married again. I just wouldn't. It took me 35 years to get to the altar, and I enjoy, I mean, even now, I enjoy my independence. And thank goodness, I have a relationship where I don't have someone that's constantly looking over my shoulder, or the person who, while he's watching football on Sunday, I'm not the dutiful wife sitting there, getting up and getting him a beer. So, but I think that women, as they get older, they just want their independence. So, does anyone want to respond to that?
I would agree with
Anybody?
that. I think when men are faced with those kinds of issues later in life, particularly, they're almost always blindsided. They almost always are in shock that things aren't going as well as they perceive them to be going. The communication, is probably non-existent, but men are pretty much okay with that. And they genuinely seem very caught off guard when the woman announces a big shift in the relationship. And I just attribute that to the difference in the sexes. You're right. Women are much more keenly aware of themselves and their identities. And I think a lot of times men, going back to your show on stereotypes a while back, they, rather than challenging themselves to be more attentive or try to understand their wives a little bit better at that point in life, they tend to be dismissive in terms of, well, it's just menopause, or she's going through that time of her life, or she's just really moody, she's going to come out of it eventually, kind of things, rather than looking in the mirror and saying, do I need to take stock here? Is there a serious problem? Rather than dismissing it as female issues.
Okay. And I would also say that when people get married, um, there are some red flags, and I think that women tend to see red flags or potential issues than men. Um, I mean, I just I just think that women once again are just more in tune to what is going on. So it brings me to the topic of dating over 665. Do you think that men who choose to date over 65, or I'll even bring it down some, let's not say even over 65, let's say over if you're single and you're say between either 55, 60, and you want to date, would you say that it's the men who are looking for a long-term relationship, meaning long-term, I want to get married again? Or do you think that it's women who are looking long-term, I want a relationship, let's get married again? Like, do you think men want that or need that? Anyone want to take that one?
Well, I think men, in a lot of ways, and I say this as a man, don't grow up as much as they need to. There's an emotional immaturity, I think, with men, and whether that started with being taken care of by their mothers, or what that's attributable to. But I think when women reach 55 or 60, they're looking for somebody who has better communication skills than their husband. They're looking for somebody to maybe challenge them a little differently. They want to explore things that they couldn't or didn't want to when they were younger and they were married, because either their husband discouraged it, or maybe even poked fun at it and dismissed it. And so they kind of are subdued about it for a long time. And then when they finally get to an age where they say, look, I'm not getting any younger, I need to do what I need to do for my own happiness. I think men tend to want to go right back into that same cradle, if you will, that they came out of, either from living with their parents before they got married, and then being married for probably several decades. I think they tend to not want to be challenged by another woman in their, by the time they reach their 50s or 60s, and they prefer to go back to a similar arrangement where they can kind of put their feet up on Sunday and watch football, and their wife just goes about her business and lets him do his thing. I don't think women are quite as willing to sit still for that once they reach 55 or 60.
Okay. All right. And even, back in the day, I even say you're going back 100 years, 200, 300 years. I don't think women ever wanted to deal with it, but that was just their lot in life. And that's what, those were the cards that they were dealt. But I don't think that women, wanted to go that route at all. So my next question is going to be about dating apps. So do you think that there is more success? There's more success for people who are older, if you want to say middle age or seniors on a dating app, as opposed to the younger crowd, the millennials or your Gen Zs or something? Do you think that a dating app is easier for an older person because they've been there, done that? They've dated, even though they may have been out of the dating scene for quite some time. They still, they've dated. They've had those long-term relationships and what have you. Do you think it's easier for them to find someone on a dating app as opposed to someone who is younger? Anyone want to take that one?
Well, as somebody who doesn't use dating apps, but has been single my whole life, Bo, I've been in many long-term relationships. I think when people reach 55 or 60 or older, my perception, and again, I'm a little bit old for the dating app world. When you swipe right or swipe left, I'm still not sure what any of those things mean. Tinder and Bumbler and some of these others. My understanding of those sites is they are primarily hookup sites, as opposed to the more traditional dating. That's not even an application. It's really just probably a dating site, like maybe eHarmony or something like that, or Match.com. I think younger people tend to go for those dating apps because they're looking for shorter term relationships, sometimes maybe just a couple hours. And so I think when you get to 55 or 60, not that men and women don't engage in those activities, sexual activities, they do. There's nothing really changes significantly just because you turn 55 or 60, although everybody slows down and the priorities aren't quite what they were when we were in our 20s and our 30s. So I think we're looking for different things in a relationship at that point in our lives. And I don't know, from my understanding of the dating apps, I don't know that they cater to the older crowd. You've got people's bodies changing as they get older, men and women, and you're not maybe as burning up to take your clothes off in front of a stranger as you might have been 30 years ago. It's just reality. And so I think those dating apps tend to be geared towards younger people just because of what the perception of what they offer is something that older people have kind of gotten past, not mostly out of necessity, but you lose your fascination with people's looks. You don't attach as much value to them. So I think you'd find the older people going the eHarmony route as opposed to the Tinder route.
All right. Well, okay. So Juju says, I know people 55, 60, no luck. They got out of the dating world. So that brings me to another question then. When people are dating, if you're not going to go on a dating app, or when you're meeting someone, where are older people meeting? I mean, are they meeting at church? Are they meeting at the park? Are they meeting in the grocery store? I mean, if you're not on a dating app, you know, okay, and Crucible Band says that they're not, but they have to be hooking up somehow if they're not on the dating app. So, do you think that they're relying on a friend? Okay, Juju says on Facebook, from what I heard. Well, you do have mostly older people who are now on Facebook, even though Facebook is losing a lot of its members. So do you think that people are relying on their friends to, introduce me to so and so? I want to introduce you to my friend, whatever. Or, is that how they're meeting? Because they are meeting because seniors apparently are dating, and they're all not finding people on a dating app. So, where else are they meeting if they're not on a dating app or on Facebook?
I think they are dating. I think they are dating online. I think I just see the commercials for these things, but eHarmony. I think there's one called Our Time. There's probably many others that specifically, explicitly gear themselves toward the over 55 crowd. So I think the days of meeting somebody in your office or having your friends, I mean, it happens, I'm guessing, I have somebody I want you to meet kind of a thing, but I don't even know that happens with younger people anymore. I was just reading an interview in the New York Post earlier today, Jennifer Aniston, who I don't have an opinion on her one way or the other, but apparently she's been single for some time and she wants to be in a relationship now. And she said, it's just really hard because nobody introduces anybody to anybody anymore. Everybody, goes through the dating apps, maybe not so much celebrities, but she said, I want to meet somebody the organic way, the old school way, and everybody does. But those opportunities become less and less the older we get. And let's face it, you lose a little bit of confidence as you get a little bit older. Like I said, it's not just looks, but we all have baggage. Once we hit age 50, divorces, financial issues, estrangement with our children. And everybody has baggage at that age. And it's just a question of how much of somebody else's baggage do you want to entertain? And issues of baggage were things that we never gave a second thought to 30 years ago. When we were in our 20s and our 30s, nobody had baggage. So I think it makes people a little bit self-conscious to put themselves out there just because they don't want to have to do a lot of explaining. They don't want to kind of open up their kimono, if you will, and kind of bare their soul because they're not particularly proud of some things that have happened in their life.
Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the baggage part. So you said a couple of things that I wanted to touch on. So number one, so are you saying that people who are older have more baggage and don't want to out themselves, so to speak, or whatever?
Yeah, I think it's just the process of life. It just wears us down. Even if we've lived a good life with a good family and a good relationship with our spouse and our children and everything, and we've got friends and whatnot, it's inevitable that once you reach your 50s and your 60s, that life it will have knocked you down many, many times. So it's just a natural part of growing older. But I do think people, kind of have to kind of do an inventory of themselves and say, okay, I know I've got these things that I'm going to have to share with somebody, but that other person's going to have things that they're going to need to share with me as well. So it just depends on what baggage you're talking about. But I think the knowledge going in that everybody has it does tend to maybe calm things down a little bit because you're not the only one going in with a divorce or with a couple of lost jobs or poor relationships with your kids. It's just a question of what does your baggage look like versus the baggage of the other person, and are you willing to entertain it for the sake of companionship? And I think that's what is the tiebreaker for a lot of people. They don't want to put themselves out there, but speaking for myself as somebody who's just into their 60s, it can get lonely. Your friends have kind of scattered. Your friends have relationship with their children and their grandchildren, and that kind of becomes their social circle. They're not as interested in getting together for a beer anymore, or to watch a game, or to hang out. So I think people look at the lesser of two evils. Do I want to put myself out there and kind of share my baggage? Or do I want to spend every night, watching Andy Griffith reruns? So I think it's the lesser of two evils for a lot of people.
That's interesting, because now you've given me a idea for for another show. But okay, so something else you said was, I just want to make sure that I have this right. You're saying, thank you. So you're saying that people today are not meeting the organic way, quote unquote, because everyone is on the dating app. So is it the fact that you think everyone's on the dating app, or people are just not out there? And what I mean by out there is, you still have people who are going to nightclubs, you still have people who are going to bars, you still have people, and when I say bars, I don't mean, you're hanging around a bar, waiting to pick up someone, or for a woman, waiting for a guy to pick her up. I mean, you're still going out where you can still meet people. You're still out there socially. So why is it so hard? Why are people going to dating apps, as opposed to, if you're, out and about and you see someone that, you like, or you're interested in, that you just can't go up to them and introduce yourself? If you're at Starbucks or whatever, you can't, just introduce yourself the organic way. So why are people turning to dating apps when there's plenty of opportunity to meet someone?
Well, I think technology plays a role. I think the ability to kind of hide, for lack of a better word, behind our devices, our computers or our smartphones, has inhibited our social skills, in terms of being able to walk up to somebody and stick your hand out and introduce yourself and say, "Here, this is who I am. What's your name? I noticed you from across the room. I wanted to come over and say hello." I think people have become intimidated, and it's much easier to hide behind your phone than it is to put yourself out there. But I also think relationships these days, for a lot of people, but primarily young people, having been a young person a long time ago, relationships tend to be a little bit more disposable at your 20s and your 30s, as opposed to when you get older, in your 50s and your 60s. You want something that's going to last. You don't want to be jumping around 3 dates a week type of thing that you might have been okay with, in your 20s or your 30s. So I think the reason a lot of young people go with the dating apps is it's faster. They can get more dates in. Sometimes they can get in, 2 in an evening, if that's what you want to do. So I think they're on those dating apps because they're not serious about a relationship, because those apps are geared for a specific outcome, from what I understand. And if that's not the outcome you're looking for, you're not going to use those dating apps. So I think when you're young, people come and go. And that's kind of the disposable nature of those dating apps, is that nobody expects anything long term. If it happens, everybody is surprised. But the goal is short-term entertainment, as opposed to something lasting.
Well, I mean, in terms of, hiding behind an app, when you meet someone, when you finally meet, you're going to have to come from behind that phone, and they're going to see you. Are you guys familiar with this show, Catfish? Juju, are you familiar with the show Catfish, Crucible Man? Kind of. Have you watched it? Have either of you watched the show Catfish? Juju, have you watched Catfish? Yes. Okay. Well, I usually do not turn it on. My husband watches it. He'll like binge watch whatever. And if I'm downstairs, in the kitchen, whatever, he has it on, I'll kind of get hooked on it. But it's an interesting show. And it's about, basically people who have, that's where the term catfishing, comes from when meet someone on an app or on Facebook or Instagram or something, and you're pretending to be someone else. And okay, Bob watches it. You also get hooked. So and you're catfishing someone. You're pretending to be someone else. And then for some of these relationships, it's like they can go on for years. And it's like every time they want to meet, the other person says, oh, my mother's sick or I have to go out of town. They always find a reason. And then they call this particular person and they reach out to them saying, I think I'm being catfished, blah, 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 blah. And when they finally meet, and these are usually young people who are doing this. I think I've only seen maybe one or two when it was older people who were catfishing someone. And their reasoning is like, you expected someone to look like this and, you're being catfished and they come out and, they look like this, or they, they put up their best friend's photo or something, or they just, got someone's photo from wherever, and people, that's what catfishing is, when you're pretending to be someone that you're not. So, welcome, Kaba. So my question is, since Crucible Man brought up the whole thing about younger people wanting something short term, why catfish someone? Is it an insecurity thing? I mean, don't you want to, if you're going to invest all this time catfishing someone, don't you want a relationship? Don't you want to be with someone? And Kava says that they are predators. Okay. All right. So, and I asked that question because, again, Crucible Man said that younger people are the ones who tend to want a shorter term relationship. But even if you're a predator, and I'm again going back to the show Catfish, you have people who literally invest like a whole year in catfishing just this one person. So, and then when they finally meet and the person starts crying, I didn't mean to do it, I'm lonely and, what have you. But if you're so lonely, why didn't you put yourself out there and, tell the truth? And hopefully you could meet someone that you click with and you can have a relationship, and as you get older, my question is, do you think that, older people could catfish someone, or they just don't have time for it? I mean, what are your thoughts? Anyone want to say? Anyone want to respond?
Yeah, I guess when you reach, I guess for any age, I'm baffled by the whole catfishing thing. Why you would go to that much trouble? Why you would, create or concoct something that's not true, or lead somebody on, string somebody along? Why you would waste your own time? So I guess I would question their overall commitment to a relationship anyway, because most people, certainly when you get to be 55, 60 and older, you don't have the patience for those games. You don't have the patience for, screwing around, or people who aren't playing straight. It's just that time has passed. So people who engage in catfishing, I frankly don't understand it, but I would first and foremost question, how serious are you about wanting to be in a relationship? Or are you just interested in having something to do or somebody to talk to?
Okay, so let me throw it back to the 65 and over. And I guess I'm gonna stop saying 65. I'm gonna say 55. The only reason why I said 65 was because of the but it's because of the article that I read. Okay, Kava says catfish people get their narcissistic supply by misleading people, starving their energy, and torturing them emotionally. And I would have to agree with that, mainly because of the episodes of catfish that I have seen, because these people who are on the receiving end are literally, they are being tortured on an emotional level. It's exhausting for them. It's like they're trying to have this relationship with someone who keeps just disappointing them over and over and over again. And then you have to ask them, well, why are you continuing to want to seek out this person when they continue to treat you like this? So I go back to the dating, when you're older, if you're not willing, if you don't want to live with someone, or marry them or whatever, do you think people who are over 50, 55, who are dating and are single, that they are looking just for someone to be with, every so often? I'll spend the night, or, I don't even want to spend the night with you. We'll just, hang out together. I'll sleep with you or whatever. And then I'll go home. We can cuddle, whatever. I mean, what do you think? As opposed to people who are younger. Thank you, Kava, for liking the show. And Kava says internet dating gives these kind of people from charm. I'm sorry, I have a helicopter outside my window, for a sense of control over another person that they wouldn't normally have. I can agree with that. I can agree. I can agree with that. So does anyone want to respond to my long rant that I just said about people over the age of 50, 55 as compared to the younger crowd? And then another question that I can throw out there is, do you think that younger people in today's world, some of them truly do want a relationship. Some of them, I think, do want a long-term relationship where they are serious and, they really want to be with someone. And Kava says, I really think it's case by case. However, older people might be better at catfishing than younger people. Interesting. Okay, so Kava, why do you say that older people may be better at catfishing and more hopeless? I'm assuming that what you mean. Kava, do you want to come on and take the mic? I'd be more than happy to give you the mic if you'd like. If not, I have no problem with the chat. They're probably better at catfishing because they've probably had experience doing it in the past. Okay. All right. Well, I am older and I have never catfished anyone. Crucible Man, you say that, you're older. Have you ever catfished anyone?
No, the whole concept is really foreign to me, because if I'm going to spend my valuable time and engage in the valuable time of another person, it would have to be with some tangible goal in mind, which would be to be in a relationship. Otherwise, I would go for the dating apps and have a more disposable, dating lifestyle. So I don't understand the waste of time. I don't understand what the fulfillment is from that, unless you've really got some kind of a sick personality that boosts your ego by jerking somebody else's chain. I don't relate to it, but I think it's a way of people being involved in I'm using that in quotes, without having to actually expend the energy and engage in the intimacy. Maybe that's the word I was looking for. When you're in a relationship, intimacy doesn't just mean sex. Intimacy is emotional intimacy, psychological intimacy. It takes all kinds of forms, and you have to really want to engage in intimacy in order to be in a relationship. And I think maybe the intimacy part is what stops people short but they want to engage in the rest of it.
Okay. All right. And Kaba is on. You have the mic. Would you like to say something?
Hi. Yeah, I've listened to you a couple times, first of all, and this is the first time calling in, finally. Usually I'm on my way to work. So, hello.
Hello. Thank you.
So, it really takes a certain personality type or disorder for someone to be able to have like the energy and wherewithal to do this. They probably come from either just something that they were born with mentally or a depraved past, and have developed some kind of fantasy related type of uh, personality disorder. And the internet really, I think, set a good foundation for these people to do stuff like this, because I know from experience that it's not just the internet, though. Like any form of communication that they can have directly to someone else gives them the opportunity to do this kind of thing. And if they have the tendency to lie in regular life. And maybe there's something about them that people withdraw from, and so they're not getting interaction that they need as a human. They'd be more prone to doing this. I don't think normal people actually really tend to do this type of thing. There's got to be something going on. So I don't think age matters or anything like that, but I'm pretty sure older people who have this disorder have done it in the past, and so they're more experienced.
Okay. So, do you think that it's easier for older people, and I'm going to say over 50, 55, that it's easier for them to date on a dating app than younger people?
No. and in fact, I think if anybody thinks that it's easy to date on an internet app, it's internet dating. It kills a lot of aspects of dating and organic dating, and also it's very dangerous because it provides a platform for predators to directly connect with their prey, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you ask the question again? I lost my train of thought.
No. Do you think it's easier for older people to date on a dating app than younger people?
I mean, younger people, honestly, I really don't know, because I have actually dated online before, and I've talked to all different kinds of ages. It just depends on it's a case by case, really. And I think that, people don't know how to date normally anymore, and they're on these websites and they're on these social medias. Their attention spans are being shortened, and they're developing narcissism and stuff like that. I don't think it's really easier or more difficult for anybody, unless there's just some unfavorable thing about you. I don't care. It doesn't matter what age you are, and if you're honest about that, I'm sure given the way these platforms, the way they work, is it's kind of based on initial attraction, right? And there's so many to choose from at hand, so they would be bypassed, if you know what I mean. So I don't think it matters in age. I think it matters just on your initial attractability, so to speak.
Okay, and Kava, I'm going to ask you a personal question. If you don't want to answer, say it's none of your business. But can I ask how old you are?
37.
I'm sorry, you said 27?
37.
37. Okay, so I'm throwing this out to anyone who would like to answer. What is the difference between being on, and no matter how old you are, what is the difference between being on a dating app now, as opposed to having back in the day, you had those dating agencies where you would go, to an office and you would fill out a form, and they would try to, they would call someone and they would try to match you up with that person. Do you think that that's the same as dating apps are now, or do you think that those were completely different and you would have a better chance of actually finding someone that you click with, that you could possibly marry or have a long-term relationship with?
Honestly, the difference is price, whereas most dating apps are free, and convenience. You don't have to go anywhere, do anything, or talk to anybody. You just do your own bio, your own profile. But it, I think that it would be safer and probably more. You'd probably have meet someone who's actually worth marrying if that's what you want to do through a dating agency, because these dating apps, they just lay out the straight line from predator to prey. So you're getting a lot of like people that you probably wouldn't want in your life into your life.
Okay. All right. Does anyone want to respond to what Kava said? She made a lot of good points. Crucible Man, did you want to respond, or Shy Lady?
Yeah, I've never used a dating agency. Back when I was, younger in doing my dating thing, most of my relationships came from organic type sources, people I work with, friends of mine, the way most people met before the internet. So I think I would use Craigslist and places like that, but I think the internet has developed a reputation, and I think it's an unfair one. Is recently, and I guess 20 years ago is not that recent, but my sister met her husband online. I don't know what the site was or anything, but for the longest time they kept that a secret. They told everybody they met through mutual friends or something, and it wasn't a hookup site. It was a legitimate dating site. That might have been Match.com. I don't remember, but they were embarrassed by it, because I think there's a disposability, I don't know if that's a word, about dating on the internet. It has a hookup connotation to it, even if you're not just looking to hook up. So I think dating on the internet still has a bit of a cloud over it, and people are a little self-conscious about using that as a way to meet people. But the fact is, the internet is here to stay. People have busy lives. They don't go out to the bars. They don't go to parties. They don't get together with their friends nearly as often as they did in their 20s and 30s. So it's a necessary evil that I think people have come to accept. And you tell somebody you met your husband or your wife online, nobody blinks. They're like, well, of course you did. Where else would you meet them?
Well, I can say that I've been married for 23 years, and when people ask, how my husband and I met, we met on America Online. I tell people that all the time. That's not how we met. Shy Lady, you wanted to say something. What do you want to say? And
Hey
welcome.
everyone. I just wanted to say I agree with Crucible Man that I think the internet is here to stay. Um, and I think my daughter was just sharing with me the other day. It said one third of all marriages uh, are through internet relationships. So again, I think it's here to stay. I didn't grow up in that era. I've been married 28 years. So I just kind of feel for the people now, because it does seem to be harder to date now than it was in the past. And if you don't meet someone in school, college, or whatever, I don't really know what's the best way. People are not in the offices anymore. That used to be ways to meet people as well through work, but most people are working from home, so it seemed like it's kind of a tough thing. But I know from my daughter's experience, she's 25. She said that she would rather meet someone organically and not through an app, because most of the time the people that she's been meeting don't really seem to want a relationship. I think they more so want a hookup. I do want to ask Kava if she wants to answer or not. Is she married, and did she try dating online? And that's pretty much all I had to say.
All right. Uh, yes, I have dated online, and I am not married. I It's just I never felt it was for me. But I don't know. I have a certain type of personality where I'm compatible with not that many people, to be honest. And at age 37 and going through the ringer with dating and everything and other life catastrophes, I'm pretty at peace with myself and being single. Um, However, from time to time, I do jump up on Tinder. I'm not going to lie, but I've learned a lot of things from this, you know. And yes, you're right. People are for the most part looking for a hookup. They're not looking for anything serious. Um, there's a lot of people on there who maybe just got out of a divorce or a long-term relationship, and they're just wanting to put themselves back into the dating scene, which I don't really agree with, because if you're not there to, find anything that could be potentially serious, like, you don't need to be messing with people's hearts, because a lot of people are on there. But yeah, does that answer your question?
Charlady, did you want to respond back to Kava, or she answered your question? Okay, I'm going to keep going. So, all right. So, my next question is, we go back to talk about this organic dating. And again, people are around. I mean, let's take COVID. Let's say COVID never happened. Let's take COVID out of the picture. People are out and about, no one's wearing a mask and everyone's out having fun or whatever. I still would like to know, why does it seem like that people cannot meet someone, at a restaurant, through friends, at work, whatever. Um, uh, you know, but they still go back to the internet. And I know Crucible Man said that yes, you can hide behind the internet, whatever. But to me, it's like, even if you want a hookup, to me it just seems like it would be easier just to meet someone the organic way. I mean, am I wrong, or?
I disagree with that, because when, like, for example, like, I have a job, right? And there's people that I'm associated with there. And then I go to the grocery store every day. There's people I'm associated with there. Maybe I go to the pub every once in a while, there's people and given my experience, like, you hook up with someone once that that is in your, where you go normally, and then you can't control how they want more or anything, and when they do and you don't, then it puts a like tension in the air, and it kind of ruins it for you. Like, this one girl was like hitting on me who just started working at the grocery store I go at. By the way, I'm lesbian, and and it just made it really awkward for me to go there after that. And luckily she's quit working there, so now it's like I don't have to deal with that anymore. But I think that people who just want to hook up, like, they want to be with a stranger, because then they're able to leave it behind them afterwards and not have to deal with the future.
But what if you're not looking for that hookup? What if you're looking for that relationship? I mean, do you want to go through the internet or a dating app, or would you like to, meet someone out in the real world?
Well, I think it really all depends on how you conduct yourself. So online, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. I kind of lost you
Okay.
there for a moment.
Yeah. So in real life, or like online, you might meet someone, and then have a relationship, and then it doesn't work out, and then you part ways. Whereas, like, I did actually have a short relationship with this girl that I met. That was near my work, and so I would see her like every day. and it didn't work out, and it was like really awkward for the both of us. Like we talked later, about it, and like she was kind of afraid to run into me, and like vice versa, and so I think that's why that's I guess probably the upside of meeting somebody online, because you don't have to, like, I don't know, to put it in weird words like shit where you eat.
I mean, I understand what you're saying, but eventually you're going to want to meet. I mean, you can't have this, internet relationship, right? So eventually,
I'm talking about like meeting someone online and then meeting up. I'm not talking about just being online.
Okay. Got it. All right. So, does anybody want to respond back to that? I'm just old school. I'm 59 years old, and I've been married for, I think, 23 or 24 years, whatever. I gotta go back and count. I'm old school, and sometimes I just sit back and I just wonder, why can't people do this, or why are people not doing that? It just seemed like it was easier doing it the old way. Then it just seems like that the internet and dating apps, whatever, it has you jumping through more hoops. Yes, it protects you for a while, but it just seems like that it has you, jumping through more hoops. I don't know, but that's just me. But again, like our conversations do on the show, we started off talking about people dating over 65, and then we went to catfishing, and now we're just, talking about dating, period. So does anyone else have anything that they would like to say?
Sure. So nowadays, like the difference between now and I guess 20 years ago, like the internet is here, right? And it's here to stay, and everybody's on it, right? So it's like you're always on the internet, like that's probably the place where you're also going to use to find people to date. Whereas, like, maybe if you are old school and you're wise to the internet trap, you would be involved in things like church or some kind of social gathering, regular like activity, and then of course that gives you more of an opportunity to meet someone and develop a relationship. And I think the internet gives people like a false sense of completeness as far as like how you're meeting someone, because they can divulge information about themselves in their bio. But I think that anybody.
Okay, I lost you when you said bio. Anybody? There you are.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We lost you again, Kava. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, what was the last thing you heard me say?
That anyone could, and that anyone could put that in their bio, and then you dropped off. So, did you want to finish that thought, or?
Okay, my network's bad. Sorry.
All right. Well, then I'm gonna throw the mic over to Crucible Man, because he has something he wanted to say. So Crucible Man, what did you want to say?
Yeah, I think, I can't speak for everybody, obviously, but I think in a perfect world, people would probably prefer to meet organically, but those opportunities have got to regularly present themselves to you. And by opportunities, I mean, either in the workplace, and a lot of people work from home these days, even pre-COVID, in the bars, at parties. And as you get older, speaking as somebody who's in their early 60s, as you get older, your world shrinks, and the opportunities to meet people organically pretty much fall away. You're not in the bars. I'm a single person, and I can't remember the last time I was in a bar other than a birthday celebration or something with my family. In terms of me going out to a quote unquote bar to hang out or try to meet a woman, I mean, those days have been over for a long, long time. So I think everybody's world, as they get older, shrinks. And as much discomfort as some people might have with meeting people on the internet, I think they force themselves to do it, particularly people in their 50s and 60s who might not be as comfortable with dating online as maybe some younger people are, I think they force themselves because when you get to be in your 50s and your 60s, your friends are few and far between. Even if you have really, really good friends, you're very rarely meeting them face to face, at least in my experience. So if you take away your family, your children and your grandchildren, your social circle is almost non-existent for a lot of people when they hit 55, 60, and 65. So I think they see the internet as their only chance, it's their only opportunity to meet somebody because, speaking for myself, as somebody in their 60s, it is extremely difficult to meet people, and you end up spending a lot of time by yourself. And that can get old, no pun intended, after a while. So I can see why people would maybe hold their nose and go the internet route as opposed to the alternative, which is to spend quite a bit of time by yourself.
Okay, you brought up some interesting points, but I'm actually going to save them for tomorrow's show about friendship, because I do want to go into the whole thing about how when you say that your world shrinks. I agree with you on one point, but I disagree. But I'm going to wait and share those tomorrow. But again, I just say I'm just old school, and I'm just stuck on this with. I still think that it is possible to meet someone, even if you're not even looking for a relationship, even if you're just, for friends and what have you. I believe that it's possible to still meet someone the old fashioned way when you're just out and about, whether it's at the job, at church, you go to the park every day when you're walking your dog, whatever, I mean, I've even met people like that who I've become friends with just out by walking my dog, because you see them all the time and then you have conversations with them. And next thing you know, you're exchanging numbers, whatever, and and you become friends. And I don't mean someone that I still, when I am walking my dog, I'll nod and say hi and keep going. I mean, we've become friends, but then again, I'm that type of person. I'll talk to anybody, whatever. So I don't know. I still am the old school way and think that you can find people and friends, again, not necessarily a relationship, but you can still find friendships the old fashioned way. So, all right. So everyone, if anyone doesn't have anything else to say, does anyone have anything else they want to add or put in?
I do.
Okay.
I moved to a better spot, by the way.
Okay.
So we're talking about dating 65 or older, right?
Yeah, but then it came to 55. Then it came to just dating.
Okay. Well, if we're back on the topic of 65 and older, I am at now. I mean, I can't speak for anybody, right? But I imagine that if they are retired, they would have time to, put themselves in social settings and gatherings or something like that, right? Because they wouldn't be working all the time. And so I think 65 and older, it might actually be, if they haven't found a companion already, it might actually be easier for them to find a companion because they don't have to work.
Okay, Crucible Man, do you want to respond to that? Because you said that, you're in your 60s, so, and you just said that that is not existent. So, do you want to respond to what Kaveh just said?
Makes a lot of sense, and I think you really don't have any choice, because the other option is to literally be by yourself all the time. So I do think that people who are retired or who have a lot of time on their hands, they have to make a different effort to put themselves out there. But a lot of people feel in those, I used to do before my back started giving me trouble, a lot of volunteer work at a food pantry. I was on my feet a lot, so I couldn't really do it that much longer. But I kind of subconsciously did it at first, hoping that maybe I might meet somebody. This was several years ago, knowing that full well that most likely the type of people that do volunteer work, they're probably, even older than I am, if that's possible. And you're not maybe as comfortable around that group of people that would be more appropriate for you in your retirement years. That may not be the dating pool that you prefer to look for a mate in. So I agree with the concept of seeking out social settings when you're retired, but you have to find the right social setting, because just being around other retired people or other people with time on their hands doesn't necessarily solve the problem either.
True. This is true.
Yeah, and it probably depends on what kind of, what the, what kind of social setting it is. I imagine if I live to be that old, I will be in AA like my grandmother was, and she found her husband there. So I don't know.
Well, they say there's someone out there for everyone. So, whether or not that's true, I don't know, because I don't know everyone. But that is one of the sayings that is out there. Does anyone else have anything else they want to say? Or Juju, do you have anything else you want to type? Shy Lady, do you have anything you want to say? All right. Well, you guys, this has been once again a great conversation. Shy Lady says you're good. And Kava, thank you so much for listening to my show. Thank you for coming in to join. You are more than welcome. And again, I know that it seems, put it like this, to me, even though I met my husband on America online, it is still foreign to me when I think of going on to an eHarmony or some type of dating app, whatever. But I do believe that there is somebody out there for everyone. And I still think you can do it the old fashioned way. But anyway, so tomorrow's show, everyone, is about friendship. What is it? I have a lot to say about this one. If anyone wants to listen to me, thank you, Juju. If anyone wants to listen to me, but that's it. We've again had a great show. Thank you, everyone, for showing up. I am Solid Blue Sister. This is my turn to talk, and I will see you next time. Bye. Thank you, Shy Lady. Thank you, everyone, for giving me a good show. All of you guys helped me with a good show. It's you guys and your input. Thank you. And Crucible Man, as always, thank you for your input. And Kava, I enjoyed your conversation today. And Juju, thank you for your typing capabilities, my silent friend. Kava, I really enjoy your conversation today. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for the likes, everyone. I really appreciate those. Kava gave me 23. I love it. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time. Bye.